Alright, hey, Epsy here, and today Game Informer came out with their cover story for the September cover of their magazine, and it's about the Taken King, because, you know, that's the big game coming out in September. And in the article, they're talking about how they went down to Bungie, and interviewed Bungie and toured Bungie Studios and the Taken King. And they got hands-on experience with the game for 2 days. And they've uncovered a lot of really exciting stuff. So I'm going to cover a brief summary of all that stuff, and if you want to read more into it, please go to the link in the description below. In that article, there's also links to more articles on that subject. It's a lot of information. I'm really surprised that they were allowed all this, because it just sounds so great. I really wish Bungie would have covered it themselves, but this is nice. This is really nice. Game Informer explains that they went into Bungie Studios expecting to see just a massive update to the game, just lots of new content, just an add-on. But what they got was a complete reimagining of everything seen before, plus new missions, maps, strikes, gear, and storytelling. To me, this says that they're not only going to see new content, but they've completely overhauled all the old content, as well as reworking the mechanics throughout the entire game. The revamped quest format adds new story context and a natural progression path to old and new content. So does this mean we have a reason to go back and play those original story? Doubtful. This perhaps refers to old things like strikes, where story can be laced more seamlessly. I'll remain hopeful, but not disappointed if they don't end up changing all of the previous story. First and foremost, there's a new level cap of 40. No, this is not light level. This is the level achievable through experience alone. Bungie also mentioned that in the old and current system, the connection between gear and light level placed character identity out of the player's control. I.e., in order to be level 32, you had to use raid gear, or in House of Wolves, you had to ascend gear to get to that. This system has been removed, so it sounds like that light will no longer affect effective level, and experience levels will be the only deciding factor for content. So Vault of Glass on normal mode will no longer require a light level of 26, but an experience level of 26, which is a much more user-friendly system. Bungie has also stated that loot drops will now take into account the loot you already have. Players will now more consistently find new and shinier gear. And that's great, because I'm tired of getting mythoclasts in hard mode. Back to the Taken King proper, storytelling is more robust, with cinematics spread throughout each mission, offering insight into previously paper-thin characters. The Ghost will become a deeper character and more involved, voiced now by Nolan North. Yep, new voice actor. Peter Dinklage will no longer be a thing. We'll have to find a new name, because Dinklebot no longer works. Nolanbot doesn't sound as cool, so get on that. Each new subclass will also have a set story to tell you as you learn to use the new power. This also extends to new weapons and the stories behind them. Even the Crucible is getting some narrative, which is really cool and I'm interested to see. There is, however, some bad news, but all the same, it's also refreshing. Old gear will not progress as newer gear will, and thus must be phased out. Your old gear will be useful for the opening ceremony, so the first couple days of Taken King, but should be replaced with newer gear as soon as possible. Taken King will also reset the progression of gear acquisition. That is, you will begin to find whites and green gear more better and more powerful than your current purple gear. Think of it like Borderlands. You keep finding newer, lower tier gear that's more powerful than your higher tier gear until you reach max level. And I like this. This is a progression I wanted from the beginning, and now I actually have an excuse to clear my vault and use new gear, because I've had the same armor for like 6 months now. Also, the game is going Borderlands, and I fucking love Borderlands, so yes. That said, no mention of exotics has been made, but seeing as they are actively making changes to them in their patch notes, I think it's safe to assume that they aren't going anywhere. They will likely progress with Year 2 gear. This could be a good and a bad thing. I personally am going to avoid use of my old exotics to try to feel the game out like I'm starting from the beginning. I'm starting a completely new adventure, because it is an entirely new game with all these changes that they are making. It's completely different, and I don't want the old exotics to make that experience stale for me. So overall, I'm really excited by this entire article. All this sounds amazing, and I'm very interested to see and play all these changes. The game seems like it's just a complete overhaul. An entirely new game. It sounds like the game that I and most people wanted to play in the first place, and that's wonderful. Alright, I've been Epsy. please go to the link down below if you want to read more into this. If you have any more thoughts or concerns, leave them in the comments below, and I will see you next time.